Hi everyone, my name's Anne-Marie. Welcome to this card making project. In this project we're going to make a very ornate card, very elegant with lots of detail to it. We're going to use lots of Anna Griffin goodies, including the new to UK, the fancy French fan dies. That's easy for you to say. Everything I do use I shall put in a detailed list on my blog, so please be sure to check my blog. You can always comment on my blog, and on Facebook I can reply to you there, but I can't reply on YouTube. Hopefully I will remember everything as we go through it to say, you know, what it's from and what collection. But if not, that's why I always say check my blog, just in case I forget something. Now this, I would say this card is going to be one of those wow cards. You probably will need extra padding and packaging for it when you send it, just because of the layers. So without further ado, let's make a really fancy card. This is a, I'm going to say 8x8 card base, and there we go on our cardometer. It's the largest size of card that we do in the square cards. Well, actually you can get bigger, but it's the largest one I do, shall we say. If for any reason you're ever stuck for the 8x8 bases, this is one thing I have that I've designed that are available as downloads to purchase. You can purchase the blank cards and the envelopes, so you don't have to be stuck if you can't get hold of the 8x8s. I will put a link again on my blog for those. So I'm using a plain white base card. You've just seen me use my bone folder to make sure that I've got a nice neat edge along the side down the score line, because there's nothing better than having that score line that's a good sharp crease. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make the inside. Now, things that I've used for the inside, I've used my Xyron with them actually, and I've just taken two sheets of cardstock, two sections should I say, not sheets, that were actually spare after me cutting embellishments and bits and pieces out of this card. And they're not cut to size, they're cut to length, but they're not cut to fit the base of the card. So this actually is a good one to show you what you can do with some of your scraps, because I've cut the two pieces of card to fit, as I say, long ways in the card, but they're obviously not wide enough. So I'm using the two pieces with the Xyron on, and I'm going to try and get them roughly about the same distance, like so. I want to try and get them about the same. I'll just lay that down. I should be able to move it if it isn't right. So we've got two at either edge, and we've got a nice big gap in the middle. Well, the gap I'm going to fill by adding one of Anna's pretty card layers, pretty pattern card layers. I've trimmed it so it's not a card anymore, and it's just the front of the card basically. So now I've turned it into a layer, and then I'm going to position it over the two card sections that we've just added, there we go, to make an insert panel for the inside of the card. So in theory these two could be scrap, and you've used the front of a card. Now we're also going to add our sentiments. I've cut out a section of the card, and it's a strange shape, and I've cut a little bit of, just with a craft knife, I've cut a little bit of a dip out of it, and I've got three fans, that the sections of the fan should I say, from the fancy French fan dies, and I'm simply adding those sections underneath the little bit I've cut to make it just a little bit fancy. And then I'm going to position this just at one side so it just meets the side of the seam, the crease in the card, like so. And then I'm going to press those down, and I've got a little sentiment that just says best wishes that will sit nicely at the base of those, and that's cut from Anna's sentiment die and stamp set. So press those down, and that's our insert finished, and that's going to match perfectly to the outside. So once we turn our attention to the outside, I'm going to just use the bone folder again to make sure that crease is nice and sharp, because there's a little bit of bulk now on the inside, because we normally make a flat inside. We've just got a little bit there, so I need to just make sure that that crease is going to stay nice and tight and sharp. Now for the outside of the card, the first thing I've got is the same double-sided cardstock that I used for the inside, and this is just from one of Anna's cardstock packs. You could use any cardstock for this. And I'm just peeling the back of the tape away. There we go, and add that through the centre to make my first layer. Now, as we go on, you'll see how we build the card up, and it's a little bit where we start at kind of the end and go back and then back to the end. So we're kind of doing it higgledy-piggledy, but you'll see why as we go. So the first thing I'm going to do is I've taken the fancy French fan dies, and yes, I am laughing because I have to make sure I say that correctly, and I've die cut using Anna's metallic cardstock two of the fans in pink. Now I've actually die cut it 3 times. That's where the sections came from for the inside. I've got 3D foam on just the inner sections of the fan, and I'm going to lay them through the centre, and they're just going to cross over a little bit, just in the centre, so you can see there as they cross over there. You see how they cross over? Now, the other thing is I've also trimmed an extra section of the fan that is going to go here, but now we're just going to skip back to the beginning because, and I know this is maybe going to confuse you, but I'm sorry. It's the way I've done it to put it all together. So we've laid the 2 fans down on the card. Now I've turned to the Eleanor paper, which is gorgeous. The full collection is so stunning. And I've taken one of the papers and I've cut away some of the pattern. And I've cut, there's actually 8 sections of this I've cut away. Now the first 2, I've used my Xyron for this. I'm going to simply slip underneath the fan at the top, like that. There we go. And then the second one is going to go at the bottom. So again, we're lifting the fan up to get that into place and just slide it in. There we go. There we go. Then what I've done is the other 6 sections that we've got, again through the Xyron machine, we're going to just add underneath the fans between the actual fan, if that makes sense. So just the top of that little bit is going to poke out of the pattern, like so. And then again through the centre underneath, and that's why I wanted the fan just laying down in place first so that we could position the layers underneath it as we go. So now I need to marry these up to match the other side, and I'm making it look more complicated than it probably is, but it's only because I wanted to show you the process of how we get to putting the layers together and positioning them. So the last section, there we go, underneath, lift the fan, push it in a little bit more, there we go, a bit more, there we go. So that's the underneath layers in position. So now I can add that little fan section there to fill that gap in. There we go. Next, I've got a sentiment, and this is from the Eleanor collection again, and I'm just going to lay it on the top because we've got a little bit more layering to do. Now, from the same paper that we've taken the cutaway sections from, I've cut away some of the inner petals, and I'm going to position these just underneath the sentiment and build up the sections around it and the little layers like that. There we go. There and there. And for anyone that likes symmetrical cards like me, then this is great because it's all symmetrical. Obviously you'll be able to take a little bit more time at home. And that final one at the top, and then I'm going to press everything down because I'm happy with where everything's positioned. Maybe lift that up a little bit. There we go. Because there's nothing to stop you at home if you think, oh, that's not quite right. You can always alter it. There we go. So I'm going to press that down, and then I'm just going to finish it off with a large pink bow at the bottom, and that is our card finished. Something a little bit different. It looks so pretty. It really does with the layers. And you know what? I think sometimes the video doesn't do anything justice, basically. And I think this is one of those cards. It just doesn't do it justice with the colours and everything. And it just, you know, it looks so good. And the mix of the browns and the pinks, and the inside matches perfectly. We've got enough room for our messages, and it stands up. Obviously it goes in its 8x8 envelope. Might need a little bit of padding, just, I don't know, maybe not. Maybe I was a bit pessimistic there. Should be okay. It's not that high. It's just the amount of layers you've got on it. But it's just such a pretty card and a different idea to use with your fan dies. Because they're so beautiful and they're very, very versatile. And I know for a fact, like the flower dies, we're going to use them on so many different projects as we go through time. So if you've got anything to say, please feel free. Please check my blog for other projects. Maybe this one isn't for you. Maybe it's not your cup of tea. I'm sure there will be something on my blog that tickles your fancy. So thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you next time.